In the 1819 poem L'Infinito by Giacomo Leopardi, he sits atop a hill and conjures in his mind limitless spaces of infinite size and superhuman silences so peaceful that it almost scares him. In this space between terror and serenity, he listens to the wind blowing through the trees and hears on it the infinite seasons of both past and present. He allows the vastness of these thoughts to swallow him completely, as if sinking into an eternal ocean of calm.
Leopardi spent most of the first 20 years of his life in obsessive and isolated study. Unable to leave his home in Recanati, Italy, his only knowledge of the outside world came from a near-endless supply of books. He yearned to escape and experience the vast world beyond the hedgerows of his family estate, and the hill allowed him to achieve that. To him, this hill, or mountain, there really isn't any actual difference other than vibes, represented freedom and a place to reach out and touch infinity. Literally speaking, a mountain is just a really big rock. Two tectonic plates crash into each other, and over millions and millions of years, they create a peak stretching up to the heavens. Like anything, they only mean something when we allow them to.
Cairn follows the journey of Aava to become the first person to set foot on the summit of Kami, the tallest mountain in the world. And from the first interaction she has with another person, you learn pretty much everything about who she is coming into this climb. She's called by her manager Chris, and whilst you might expect someone attempting to be the first person to do anything to be excited about a grand adventure, she's anything but. She's short and rude, getting him off the phone as quickly as she can. His excitement over her climb only seems to irritate her, and she dismisses the significance of what she's attempting. If you explore the climbing gym, more of her disdain for the spectacle of her adventure seeps through. She complains about having to be on camera for a documentary, even though it's likely the only way she can afford to attempt the climb at all. She never once expresses excitement or joy of any kind, as if it's simply another task in front of her, instead of the culmination of her life's work.
From this introduction of no more than a handful of sentences, we assume what the mountain means to her as she sets out to conquer it. Make no mistake, she is determined to reach the top and will not stop until she does. As for why? Well, it certainly isn't to share it with the world. It's more like something that she feels she has to do rather than something that she wants to. And that feeling is something that permeates the entire climb.
Once she begins her ascent of Kami, Chris continues to call to check in and ask for updates. He sent her with a camera so she could send pictures and videos of the climb, presumably to pass on to her sponsors and complete the documentary she reluctantly agreed to. That camera, however, is broken from the first second of the game. She never had any intention of documenting her journey or sending any updates or even answering any of the calls he sends her way. Without the camera, she cannot document her achievements, the documentary she agreed to will fail, her sponsors will drop her, and she will have no proof that she ever set foot on the mountain. She has multiple chances to tell him it's broken, but doesn't, and even laughs about it when he calls asking for updates. It's one of the first times you see her express some joy, and it's from screwing over someone who is her manager, but beyond that, maybe her friend, or at least someone who trusts her. You can see this and immediately think she's just a terrible person, but if you really stop to think about it, the reality is a lot more worrying. She's going to a mountain where the only real information we have is about how many people have died there. She's stopped reaching out to anyone on the ground and is willing to destroy a documentary, her relationship with sponsors and her manager, and essentially her career, all to climb a mountain that she doesn't seem all that excited about. She will have no proof that she was ever there, and keeps on climbing anyway.
In completing the game and researching for this video, I was plagued with the question of why. Why does Aava climb? If not to stake her claim as the first human to set foot on the summit of Kami, if not for fame or wealth or the respect of her peers, why is she so determined to reach the top, if not for any of the reasons that people normally do anything for the first time in human history? She doesn't want to prove to anyone else that she climbed to the summit. Her goal isn't to be the first to reach the top, it's for her to prove to herself that she can do it, to prove that the feeling she has deep in her gut is right. She feels she can do it, and so she has to try, even if it means leaving behind everything she holds dear in the process.
Whilst climbing, she also receives calls from her partner Naomi, where Chris calls asking Aava to essentially do work and promote herself, things she clearly resents. Naomi is simply calling to see if she's safe. She doesn't want pictures or altitude or stool colour. She just wants a single word to let her know that she's alive. Aava reacts just the same no matter who calls her. If anything, the more personal calls from Naomi seem to upset her more than the formal ones from Chris, as if the source of her frustration is any reminder of the world on the ground, and she offers only silence as her reply. One of the times Naomi calls is to sing happy birthday to Aava along with all of her friends, celebrating her birthday without her.
Granted, climbing Cami is likely timing and weather dependent, and Aava is a full-grown adult who probably doesn't think too much of her birthday, but the fact she chooses to spend it alone, sleeping on a tent, hanging off the edge of a mountain, rather than with her friends and loved ones, tells us a lot about what she values the most in life. She would rather be alone on the wall, facing miserable conditions, life-threatening danger and total isolation, than at home, surrounded by people that care about her. Climbing and the mountain are her priority, and there's nothing and no one that could change that.
She never seems happy to receive reminders of the world on the ground. She smiles and laughs at the message, but as soon as she's left to her own thoughts, you see uncertainty creep its way back into her expression. None of the messages she receives bring her any lasting joy or even draw much of a reaction from her. She only sees them as a distraction. She has given herself over entirely to the mountain, and it's the only time she really seems at peace. She may complain or become frustrated when she falls, but whilst climbing she remains focused and silent, blissfully unaware of anything but the wall in front of her. It's here that we see the first hints of what the mountain means to her. It's an escape from the rest of the world and the worries that come with it. Total peace found in a singular focus on a problem only she can solve. Aside from climbing, she also finds peace during other moments where she's entirely immersed in the mountain. A little ways up, she finds a waterfall and decides to bathe, only to be interrupted once again by a message from Naomi.
Oh, right now? Are you serious? You couldn't wait? Go on, go ahead. Play your damn message.
Hi, Aava. It's 7 in the morning here. I just wanted to send you a little message to see if you were okay. Things aren't great here. I had to take Capsule back to the vet. They gave him a new treatment, but he has to take pills every day. I'm hiding them in his food, but you know how stubborn he is. He'll eat all the way around and leave only the medicine. Our kitty cat is getting on. I hope you'll be around until you come home at least. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm bothering you with this. You need to focus. And I'm barging in with my same old. Anyways, everything's fine otherwise. I just wanted to keep you up to date with life on the ground. Love you. Bye.
Happy now, robot? You've ruined everything. Right, come on. Let's just get back on track.
This message should be distressing. Anyone with a pet knows that hearing they are sick, no matter how serious, floods you with immediate panic. But aside from a momentary narrowing of her eyes, she only berates Climbot for ruining the moment and returns to the mountain once again. She is literally climbing away from the rest of the world and everyone in it, seeking a bliss that she believes can only be found through total dedication to the mountain. But even here, on the most dangerous mountain in the world, she's never truly alone.
Hey! Hey, wait for me! Whew. It's been days since I've seen anyone. I'm Marco. Nice to meet you.
Marco acts as something of an unwanted companion to Aava. From their first meeting, it's clear that she's fairly irritated by his presence, from her curt answers to his questions and unwillingness to engage in conversation. She says herself that she didn't expect anyone else to be climbing the mountain, never mind attempting it alone. The two share that same drive to chase the adventure the mountain holds, but are otherwise fundamentally different. Aava doesn't have the best relationship with her parents, or at least her father, as we learn when Marco mentions him, whilst he knows his parents would worry if they knew where he was. Marco gave his climbot an affectionate nickname, whereas Aava never bothered despite seemingly having the same one for years. It's clear that she sees his attachments as weakness, that her not caring about those on the ground worrying about her, or seeing her climbot as nothing more than a tool, are aspects that make her a superior climber, an assumption that she feels is validated during their next conversation.
Well, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to share a meal with you. Now, who knows if I'll get another chance. This is getting hard for me. I'm thinking about turning back.
Well, it's a bit strange to embark on this kind of climb, thinking that you're going to fail, isn't it?
I'm not fooling anyone. There's no way I'll make it all the way to the summit. I'll come down before the end, just like everyone else.
You climb, you fail, and then?
Then I go back down, set up a cozy spot in my van, and watch a nice TV show on my laptop.
That's it.
I mean, that's all you need, right?
Is it?
She sees Marco knowing his limits and being unwilling to push them as weakness, that there's no point attempting a climb if you don't believe you can get to the top. His perspective that climbing is something he loves doing and getting to the top isn't the be-all end-all is something that she can't even begin to understand. He is perfectly happy to climb up a little, admire his surroundings, and go back down to life on the ground.
This is what the mountain means to Marco, a place for him to temporarily escape the world and witness something that very few people ever will. It's a way for him to be challenged and progress his favourite hobby, but not some near impossible test that must be conquered. He respects the mountain as his opponent and is grateful for the chance to test his mettle before bowing out and heading back to the ground. He has that same love of climbing, but where for Aava it's everything, for him it's simply something he loves to do. She disagrees that living a life you enjoy is all you need, and that the point of the mountain isn't to be doing what you love for the sake of doing it. She is here looking for something deeper than just the joy of conquering a challenging climb.
When asked directly why she's climbing Kami, she gives him the same answer she's given in countless interviews in the past.
Okay, well, tell me, why are you doing this?
The best feelings of freedom, pleasure, and meaningfulness I've ever felt. They came to me when I exceeded my limitations. Those fleeting moments when I'm not in the mountains, but I am the mountain.
The sentimental and almost spiritual way she describes becoming one with the mountain is exactly what you'd want to hear if you were someone who doesn't understand climbing. I know that when I first heard this answer, aside from it being an obvious lie and also a little bit cheesy, it made sense. It told me that she's chasing the high of exceeding what she thought were her limitations, achieving something that proves to her that she's more than she thought she was.
I also don't believe that this answer is entirely untrue. Aava sees Kami as a way to push herself beyond her limits and achieve something amazing. Those fleeting moments she's chasing may not be when she is the mountain, but they are certainly when she's at the most peace. First, while she's bathing in the waterfall, and then again, later that night.
Wow.
How you like that?
See, this is exactly why.
I know.
When all we have is this moment, and everything else in the world disappears.
I know.
This is the first time Aava opens up and gives us a little insight into why she does what she does. She's chasing these moments of calm where everything else in the world disappears, and all she can focus on is the beauty of what's in front of her. Just completely present in one perfect moment. And not a cell phone in sight. Aava speaks in unfinished sentences, and even without all of the words, Marco knows exactly how she is feeling. For the first time on the mountain, and maybe in her life, she's understood by someone. She shares one of those moments she holds so dear with someone she just met, and it is by far the most vulnerable she is with anyone. That is, until he literally will not stop speaking the next morning.
Did you always?
It's not impossible to find people willing to
don't
take
get me
on this
wrong.
part. No judgment.
Not to get too
here. I'm
deep
on
in my
own, too.
family tree.
I wouldn't say I'm the
But
most
I have
gifted
mountains
in
in
my
my
family.
Do you ever shut up?
Wow. That was mean.
Well, nothing lasts forever. When they next meet, Marco reiterates that he's pushing himself well beyond his limits and seems close to giving up. This time, rather than berating his weaker mindset, Aava instead gives him a motivational speech.
Are you getting tired?
Getting tired. I'm way past that. I'm burnt out.
There's always a time in the climb when you're plagued by doubt. But as soon as you get over it, the motivation returns, and you're left filled with rage to get to the top.
The use of the word rage when describing her motivation to reach the summit gives us insight into Aava's mindset when it comes to pushing herself forward. She doesn't receive joy from the climb or the achievement of completing her goal. Instead, she sees the mountain before her as a foe to be conquered.
She climbs filled with a silent rage, evident by just how unsilent it becomes should you fall.
No, come on!
Where you might expect the escape of the mountain to provide her with serenity during the climb, she instead reveals that she's never really at peace. Even when she's doing what she has spent her entire life pursuing, that rage remains, pushing her to go far beyond what she originally thought possible.
Later, they share drinks and we see them share another moment of mutual understanding. This time she asks him if his family understands what he's doing, but he knows that they can't. He doesn't see other people's lack of understanding as a fault, but rather a simple difference of perspective. He accepts that people who don't climb will never be able to understand it. Where Aava seemingly resents those who do not understand her, Marco remains indifferent. He sees others who understand him as special, rather than those who don't, as lesser.
This conversation and the one by the lake almost mirror each other. Marco seeks to understand the relationship Aava has with the mountain, and she instead wants to understand his relationship with everything but. It's something she doesn't understand herself, even though she's shown to have plenty of people who care about her. She may have a partner, a cat, and friends, but she still feels entirely alone and alien to them all.
Further up the mountain, the pair meet again, and at this point Marco is completely out of his depth. He doesn't know why he continues to climb, and when Aava tries to comfort him, he only pushes her away.
Please stop trying to motivate me. You're making things worse. You're getting me to believe I have a chance of succeeding. I shouldn't have listened to you. I'm going to die here.
Marco, no one ever said it would be easy. So you're gonna get up, pick up your stuff, and we'll continue this climb together.
No. This mountain isn't going to kill me. You are.
I don't think that Marco genuinely believes that Aava is responsible for his life being at risk. However, where he does blame her is in infecting him with the belief that he can make it to the top. By the lake he said he'd never make it, but in his spiral he says he's starting to believe he has a chance of succeeding. It's not the danger of the climb that's scaring him, it's the fact that he knows how dangerous the climb is, but he's starting to want to keep going anyway. He's starting to question what he knows to be his limits by having the belief that he can surpass them. He's climbed past the corpses of many different climbers who all believed they could keep going and eventually make it to the top. And every single one of them were proven wrong. He is terrified to let that same belief crawl its way into his mind, as once it does, he can never get rid of it. Just like Aava.
To calm his spiral, Aava offers to climb down with him, but even in his panic state, Marco knows this isn't something she can do. She has people on the ground who have known her for far longer than he has, and who she cares about so much more, but none of that stopped her from making the climb in the first place. So why would she abandon the mountain and have to live with the fact that she failed to complete her goal and reach the summit? all for a person that she barely knows.
As much as I'd like to believe she's changed, he's totally right. He's aware that this belief is something dangerous that should be avoided at all costs, and that Aava is too far gone to let go of it now.
Upon reaching the next plateau, they meet for a final time and he's back to his usual relaxed self. The reason for this is that he's seen the next section of wall and the belief that started forming in his gut evaporated. He knows he can leave happy, accepting that this is as far as he can go. Of course, Aava disagrees, but it's at this point that Marco finally calls her belief what it really is. A disease.
I'm not like you, Marco. The mountain is in my gut, deep inside.
No. I think the mountain is all in your head, like a disease that's eating at you. You can heal if you want to.
So you've made your decision?
Haven't you? Would you rather stay here, stuck between the ground and the summit?
I don't know. Things are so easy here. The goal is clear. It's a climb that's entirely up to me. Exactly what I can't have in life down below.
He sees her drive and her rage to reach the summit not as a force guiding her to greatness, but as an obsession driving her away from the rest of the world. She chooses the mountain because that's easier for her than dealing with everything else going on in her life. She's so scared of letting go of the one thing that makes her feel in control that she will leave everyone behind and put herself in mortal danger, all so she can keep avoiding the real world for just a little longer.
As someone who has struggled and continues to deal with depression and anxiety, it's impossible not to see the similarities in Aava's situation. When you are being crushed by the weight of simply having to live your life day to day, you will do literally anything to escape it, and she has chosen the mother of all distractions. Aava's belief that the mountain is in her gut rings true for a lot of people who feel their depression or anxiety is something they can never get rid of, and is instead an almost physical part of them that can never be removed. It is in her head, but that doesn't make it any easier for her to overcome.
This conversation is where we see both Aava and Marco at their most honest, both with themselves but also with each other. Marco has reached his limit and is happy to go back down, knowing that he did all he could and had the experience of a lifetime. He looks up to Aava as a climber, but as a person would never aspire to be anything like her. He recognizes her obsession and its inevitable conclusion. Aava instead allowed her idol to infect her with that same belief that led him to the very same mountain. A climber she looked up to, who attempted to summit Kami only to disappear completely, becoming lost to the mountain. See, when Aava reaches Marco in the cave, he's not alone. It turns out that Damas al-Fatri, a legendary climber that Aava looked up to, has been living on the mountain for 12 years. From their first interaction, you can see that she looks up to him just the same as Marco looks up to her.
I followed your ascent in the newspapers.
I see you have your robot. Same one you had in the magazines when I was a kid.
Why didn't you come back down?
Why are you doing this?
They are a lineage of climbers inspiring those who come after, all leading to Kami. We can take this a step further by simply looking at what Marco calls Damas when he's first introduced.
Lucky for me, Grandpa was watching from afar, and he brought me back here.
It's never disclosed how old Marco is, but given how often his youth is mentioned, we can assume he's significantly younger than Aava. We'll just ignore the sideburns that would put Ilya Rosenov to shame.
Marco looks up to her exactly the same way she looks up to Damas, so in a way, he is the grandpa of the group. He is the oldest generation in this cycle Aava is perpetuating, and Marco is following on from her. The way he looks up to Aava, however, is not the same as how she looks up to Damas. She saw his failure as something to be surpassed, that if he, one of the greatest climbers in the world, couldn't do something, then it was up to her to finish his work and eventually to surpass him. Marco, however, admires Aava and praises her achievements and dedication to climbing, but he's happy not to make any attempt to surpass or even match it. He allows her to be this mythic hero in his mind, but never idolizes her as something to aspire to.
The same sickness has simply taken different forms. Where Aava's belief continues to propel her upwards and Marco's dissipates, allowing him to return to the ground, Damas refuses to let go, and as such has become trapped in between. He now lives permanently on the wall, never reaching the summit but never going back down to abandon the climb completely.
He states it's the only way he can remain sane and that the failure of admitting defeat would be too much for him to bear. Damas now acts as a gatekeeper, warning those who come to attempt the summit, only to watch them ignore him and fail all the same. He seems resigned to live the rest of his life as a cautionary tale, a final warning from others that share his affliction, not to keep pushing past the point of no return. Aava sees this as a challenge, like Damas is someone to be beaten. She believes that she can do better than those who came before and achieve things that no one ever has. She feels she can make it to the top if she tries, but so did Damas, and so did every other corpse she saw on the way up. She's just another in an endless cycle of obsession, masquerading as self-belief. Inevitably, she decides she's going to attempt the climb anyway, and in her last interaction with Damas, her respect is replaced with disdain. He had his turn and failed. Now it's her time. She won't allow herself to be trapped in that same purgatory and would prefer to make it to the top or die trying.
And her mention of purgatory sent me down probably the most unexpected rabbit hole in the history of this channel. Which granted isn't too long, but I digress. The Divine Comedy is an epic poem written between 1308 and 1321 by Dante Alighieri. It follows his journey through hell, purgatory and heaven, and is, without a doubt, one of the most verbose things I've ever read. However, pretentiousness aside,
she says 27 minutes into a video about the meaning of mountains,
purgatory in the poem is depicted as a towering mountain, and when I started reading about it and its structure, well, let's just say it looked a little familiar. The mountain of purgatory is separated into 3 distinct sections. Section 1, Anti-Purgatory, is the lower slopes. It's here that Dante encounters the most reminders of Earth, with lost souls appearing as sheep and many of them asking about the people they left behind.
On Kami, the first chunk of the mountain is laden with civilization. There's the ruins of a cable car that once ferried tourists up the first pitch, and the remnants of the troglodyte village, once home to people living their entire lives on the mountain, now left abandoned.
The second section is the largest and is where Dante finds people condemned to purgatory for their various sins. The book separates the chapters into the 7 deadly sins, but the verbiage used to describe them is focused more on love and the 3 ways it can lead to sin.
You have love directed at the harm of others, souls that performed violence on their fellow humans for no other reason than because they wanted to. Deficient love wherein souls fail to live in pursuit of any kind of love. And lastly, disordered love giving way to obsession, souls which allowed themselves to be consumed by love of wealth or power and kept everything for themselves.
Aava both sees these 3 perversions of love and displays them the higher she climbs.
She meets a miner who killed his friends, and shortly after she rips the antenna from Climbot. This is not only harming the only companion she's had for the entire game, it's also harming Naomi and the others on the ground who care about her. The shepherdess takes the form of deficient love. She once had feelings for one of the troglodyte villagers but lacked the love or the will to travel down to visit, until one day, she was the last one living on the mountain. Aava hears of her cat passing away, and even as Naomi sobs over voicemail, she only reacts with anger. Nothing can come before the mountain, not even the one person she should care about the most. And lastly, disordered love. Damas encapsulates this perfectly with his inability to return to the surface. He has lived at the top of a mountain for over a decade, no doubt in freezing conditions with limited food and very little human interaction, all because he cannot bring himself to admit defeat. He loves the mountain too much to give up on it and would rather give up on the world itself than leave it behind. Aava shares this obsession with the mountain, but where Damas is content to make a life for himself in purgatory, Aava knows she has to keep going to see the summit. She is willing to lose everything, including herself, if it means reaching the object of her obsession.
The third and final section of purgatory is the earthly paradise. This isn't heaven, but more so a path to it, a place for you to shed all remaining connections to earth and ascend to whatever comes next. Whilst Dante focuses mainly on the Christian religion with his depictions of heaven, hell, purgatory, and of course capital G God, Kami doesn't specify. Even the name Kami comes from a Japanese word that can represent anything deserving of worship.
In this sense, to Aava, the mountain represents a direct connection to God, if not God itself. Perhaps not in a religious sense, but it's certainly the thing she shows the most reverence to. She speaks about it as if it's a living being rather than just a rock, as if it has motives or even personality.
Her desire to reach the summit is then, in essence, a desire to meet God. She craves the peace and comfort that only her God can provide, and believes that humans and humanity in general cannot offer her that.
Her choice to part ways with Marco and leave Damas behind in his purgatory is Aava shedding her last remaining connections to the rest of the world. She's cut off Naomi and Chris, Capsule has died, Marco is headed back down alone, and her idol offers her no encouragement as she makes the last stretch of the climb completely alone. She is sacrificing the last remnants of what makes her human, all in pursuit of getting to the top.
The last section of the climb is not the hardest physically, but emotionally, Aava is destroyed.
Every rest shows her doubting herself and wanting to turn back. She sees hallucinations of others climbing ahead of her, final reminders of what she's chosen to leave behind. As she approaches the final pitch, even Climbot, the only thing she's had with her from the very beginning, starts to fail, and during it, passes away completely.
Side note, if you choose to cut off Climbot, you're a sociopath. That little guy has been there from the first minute and has gone through far too much to just be sent down to the bottom by himself.
Once she's totally alone, she has to haul herself up the last stretch with no safety rope if she loses her grip. The physical and emotional weight of Climbot making the ascent all the harder. She hauls his corpse over the top and walks to the summit, and we finally see that rage that she's been talking about. For what happens next, I need to take you back to the very first words Aava says in the entire game. Before the climbing gym, and before that first call from Chris, she says something that I believe is not meant for anyone else but you.
All I ever wanted was to touch eternity for an instant. To reach one of those rare moments of bliss, where everything seems in its place and you feel you're part of a whole.
After she has expelled the very last drops of her rage, she reaches out, touches eternity, and begins climbing the stars themselves. At first she moves slowly, star by star, limb by limb, up and into the sky, before she launches herself, moving faster than she has the entire game. Eventually she's rocketing upwards, no longer visible beneath the ball of colour surrounding her, as more and more stars join her, until she leaves us behind and becomes part of a whole. After seeing this, I think most people would say, what the fuck was that? There was nothing like that in the rest of the game, and then right at the end we decide to go insane?
And whilst there's nothing this otherworldly shown during the rest of the game, through learning about the people that once called the mountain their home, what happens here really makes a lot of sense.
The Troglodytes took their dead to the highest point they could so that their souls were closer to the summit to ascend to whatever comes next. Several times you find messages from Troglodyte climbers who wanted to reach the summit so that they could join their loved ones in the beyond. Aava has followed in the footsteps of those climbers who came before and succeeded where no one else ever has. She has reached the summit, touched eternity, and become part of a greater whole, ascending just like the souls of the dead to whatever comes next.
I've seen some discussion around the ending asking if what she experiences is real, and whilst that's a fair question, in the context of our view of events, I think it obscures the point. In my opinion, it doesn't matter if Aava dies at the summit and this is a last hallucination from the lack of oxygen, or if this is her actual physical body, or even her soul ascending to the stars. What matters is, from the first moments of the game, we have seen this world through the eyes of Aava.
We saw her climb and fall and dust herself off and keep climbing. We saw her laugh and scream and cut off those she loves, only to be haunted by them all the same. Everything we have seen in the game has been through her eyes, and so this ending is how she sees her journey to the summit. It doesn't matter if it's real or not. It's what she sees, and from the start, was what she always wanted. She touched eternity, became part of a whole, and experienced a moment of perfect, weightless bliss before finally leaving us behind as she went off to join the stars. It's the one and only time the camera leaves us behind, only showing us that she made it, that the goal she set from the very first second is complete, and she doesn't need our help anymore. There's something she says earlier in the game, and I think it's worth mentioning here. Just before they meet Damas, Marco asks Aava why she keeps going, and she says this.
I was born on this mountain. There was nothing before it, and there'll be nothing after. There's only the mountain.
Whilst on the surface this seems like another rehearsed interview answer, I think this is actually something she believes, and is another of those messages that she's directing at us just as much as Marco.
From the player's perspective, in a sense, she was born on the mountain. The first time we ever see her, she's in the climbing gym that exits directly onto a wall in the same mountain range as Cammy. There is nothing before the mountain, and there will be nothing after. For her, or for us. There is only the mountain.
I'm going to level with you, this is actually the second ending I've written and filmed for this video. I had a whole other ending, all about how we each have our own mountains, and that we don't need to climb them alone, ready to go. But I had this niggling feeling at the back of my mind. The ending I'd written was too easy, and to be honest, too optimistic for a story that felt so bleak. I wanted to believe that I could be better and learn from Aava's mistakes, that I could face my problems head on and not bury them beneath distraction and rage. But her screams still echo in my mind. It's as if once she expelled all of her rage with that first scream, the pain of everything came crashing down on top of her all at once. The agony of leaving behind her loved ones, losing her cat and eventually herself. The sound of her realizing that haunts me, and I can't watch the ending without a knot forming in my gut. Recently, I've had some stuff happen that hurt me. I won't go into details, but what I will say is that in the aftermath, I've felt that call of the mountain. Maybe I didn't want to go attack Everest, but I felt that desire to stay angry and focus on anything else but the source of my pain. I filled myself with rage and pushed myself away from everyone who cares about me in a futile attempt to outrun the hurt. Luckily, I have great people around me who understand, so no harm done, but even so, I was so quick to do exactly what I knew I shouldn't, and that scared me.
In my darkest moments, I crave that peace where the world falls silent and long for a focus so profound that nothing else can enter my mind. I watched this entire story unfold and saw that the only conclusion from following this path is pain, and I wanted to follow Aava down it all the same. After she flies off into the distance and the credits roll, you're asked a question. And you, what is your summit?
I still don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this. For Aava, the summit was her final definitive escape from life on the ground, and life at all. She reached out, touched eternity, and experienced a perfect moment of bliss before launching off and joining the stars to become part of a whole. But not before she experienced all of the pain she'd been avoiding all at once. She got that perfect moment she was searching for from the very start of the game, but at what cost?
Unlike the mountain of Purgatory, Aava didn't painlessly shed her humanity and enter paradise at peace. She has every ounce of humanity she has left ripped out of her in those 3 harrowing screams. She may get her perfect moments and find peace, but not before she experiences more pain than any person should ever have to bear. The summit is then a place where you can find peace, but only through confronting that which you most desperately wish to avoid. You must feel the agony of seasons past and present before you can sink into that infinite ocean of calm.
So, what is a mountain? To me, it's a place people go to when nowhere else feels safe, where they can bury whatever pain or anxieties they're experiencing beneath the rock as they focus entirely on an all-consuming distraction. In short, a place they go to stop living. Even with all of this in mind, I don't believe that the mountain is something that can be avoided completely. Sometimes we need that all-consuming distraction when the world gets a little too much and we long for the quiet hum of wind on rock. However, the key is in remembering that we all need to come down eventually. You must face your pain head on and find some way to move forward, because if you refuse to confront it, you can be damn sure that it will find you, no matter how high you climb.
That was originally the end of this video, but after I finished recording, the hurt I'd been running away from caught up to me. I debated whether or not I should share this, but I think it's important to get across just how much this game has affected me.
I don't even know why, to be honest. Not to sound too much like Arthur Morgan, but I think I'm afraid. This game, the story, Aava, means a lot to me. I think like a lot of people when, stuff's hard, I probably distract myself with games, books, whatever, and I think Cairn is really it's been there for me when I really needed it. I think it's just one of those things that I found it at the right time, and when I finished it, I like the two things that upset me were obviously the ending and the story. I don't know. I wanted to help Aava, and I know that you can't, and that's kind of the point. And I know that she's, not real. I know that. But, I don't know. I was also really sad that I wouldn't have the mountain anymore. I wouldn't have the game, the distraction, the escape. And so I think, the top of this script on the Google Doc, it's just like a couple of paragraphs that I wrote the moment I finished the game, because I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just stop. So I guess I'm just afraid to, move on. If anyone from the Game Bakers is watching this, I just want you to know I'm really grateful. I'm really, really grateful. I saw a lot of people hating Aava or judging her really badly. I think she's a terrible person. And I think it didn't offend me, obviously, but I felt the need to put something out that showed that she's hurting, because I felt like her, I know what it's like to want to escape. I don't know. I hoped I'd find an answer to write all this, and I didn't. don't want to be scared. I don't want to be angry. Anyway, yeah, if there's anyone from the team watching this, thank you. I really do mean that. If this somehow makes it off of this camera and into the actual video, then I'm sorry to everyone watching this. I didn't expect this. I didn't plan to do this. You know, if you relate to Aava in any way, and you feel like you're trapped, and you need to escape, I don't know. I just want you to know that you're not alone. You know, there are people that feel that way, and it hurts. No matter how much you run away from it, it does hurt. But, you know, we'll get there. I hope. And like I said, I don't want to talk about personal things too much. But coming out didn't go too amazing for certain people in my life. But I had the very best friends in the world. I love them so much. If you're watching this, if this makes it, you know that. Fuck, man. Yeah, I have the best friends in the world. I know that. I hope they know that I know that. They are so supportive of everything. They watch these long, rambly, depressing videos and actually engage with them and talk to me about them and discuss them, and just, I don't know. It's nice to be understood. Makes me not want to run up a mountain since no one else gets it. And even if not everyone gets it, you know, like Marco says, or thinks, or implies, or whatever, makes the people that do get it all the more special. If you watch this video all the way to the end of whatever this breakdown is, before Louis interrupts me again, thank you. I really do appreciate the people who watch these videos. You know, I love making videos of all kinds. You know, if you know these videos, you probably know that I have the main channel where I like just make strategy gaming content. And I love that making videos is my job. It's literally my dream. And the people that watch these, that are essentially me pouring out my soul, I really appreciate you. So thank you. I really hope you have a great... I don't know why I'm doing like an official outro thing. Like that doesn't seem fitting right now. I don't know. It's probably just the only way I can hold on, I guess. So hope you have a great rest of your day. And don't forget to love yourself. Be around those that do.